Hello my fellow paint monsters, how are you doing today? I'm Aga and this is Hungry for Paint, a channel about handmade watercolor paints. Today I would like to show you some paints from Stakiwi Colours made in New Zealand by Stacy. She's quite an amazing person, by the way. Make sure to check her website. She's got a blog, she writes about paint making and other stuff. And a lot of this is going to be interesting and useful to you if you're interested in watercolors and especially watercolor making. Since my review video from last week got delayed, I decided to merge the two, the review video and the color mixing video, so there's only going to be one this week. I do apologize, I hope you don't mind. So first we'll do the swatching and the review, then I'm going to move on to the mixing chart and some random color mixes, and I'm going to do an inking test with a Sakura Pigma micron pen, as usual. So for this review and the color mixing, I'm using samples I bought from Stacy. I also got several of the colors extra, so that was really nice. The samples are generous, they're quite affordable, so if you're not sure about investing in whole pans, you can always get some samples to try out these watercolors, so that's really helpful. The first thing you notice when you start painting with these is that they pretty much reactivate instantly. You don't really need to pre-wet them, and these are nicely pigmented, they spread very well, they flow easily. There are no visible particles in any of these. Some of these paints have a texture, some are smoother, some have a bit of a shimmer, like Lake Pukaki for example, some have quite a lot, like Quill or Honey Eater or Swoop for example. Oh, by the way, 6 of the samples that I've got make up a wonderful set called Tui. It is a New Zealand themed set. It's a collaboration Stacy did earlier this year, I think. And it's a really interesting one and a very clever idea, because the colors that are included in the set are the colors that you can find on a bird, the tui, which is an endemic species for New Zealand. It's the only place on earth where you can find it. If you don't know what it looks like, definitely Google it. Its colors are quite stunning. And I think these watercolors reflect the bird's actual colors really well. And the colors in the set are Plume, Quill, Honey Eater, Tuft, Parson Black and Swoop. So these are really well made, they don't rub off the paper at all. A few of these colors might stain the next page in your sketchbook, and these are raglan quite a bit. It's a beautiful color, but it does transfer. It's Lake Pukaki, Taniwa only very slightly, and Swoop and Watermelon to a very limited degree. So if you work in sketchbooks a lot, the only two I wouldn't really recommend getting are Raglan and Lake Pukaki. But if you work on loose sheets of paper, you'll be totally fine, I think. Cinder Rose is a very nice dulled down pink color. I like it very much. It does look a little bit chalky when it dries, especially if you layer it thickly, but it does not rub off. All of these colors layer beautifully. Even the shimmers work quite well with layering, but because of the mica, the lines will get blurred, especially in Quill and Swoop. Tuft is a rather transparent white, it's not very opaque. I put a second layer of it on the upper half of the little monster on the swatch sheet, so you can see that it's still quite transparent even if you layer it. And Parson Black is quite intense, pretty opaque, and it's got a strong texture. It's nicely visible in the mixing part of this video, where I mix Parson Black together with Tuft. So let's move on to the mixing part of the video. Watermelon is a very bright red. It's practically a neon, but I found it's the closest to a primary red from the colors I have, so I decided to use it, and it's a surprisingly good mixer color. The oranges you can get with it are pretty crazy, but you can also get some very nice purples and violets using it, as well as some brownish shades. And it doesn't really stand out in mixes, it spreads nicely and mixes evenly with other colors. The yellow lemon is a very strong color as well, and it can create some very vibrant greens and a nice range of them too, so it's a good one to get for mixing. Lake Pukaki is the closest to the primary blue cyan, so I chose it for mixing, as well as ultramarine blue. and I find that ultramarine blue and Lake Pukaki work brilliantly together. And personally, I like the greys that Lake Pukaki and Terracotta can create together, and greys that result from mixing Cinder Rose and Mermaid Song. The shimmers mix quite nicely as well. Quill and Swoop are two pretty similar colors, but Swoop has a more violet undertone, while Quill leans more towards a dark green and grey. And the mica itself is a bit darker in Quill and cooler. It's a more bluish green, while the mica in Swoop is a lighter, more yellowish green. So overall, I find these watercolors are of very good quality. They're pretty affordable. There's a ton of colors. You can see the swatches on Stacy's Instagram. You can find the link in the description below. You can get samples of the colors so you can try them out really cheaply. And Stacy offers absolutely awesome customer service. So if you've got any questions whatsoever about her paints, you'd do best to just ask her personally. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any of the questions you might have. And in the inking test, where first I draw a line, then I paint on top of it, and then when the paint dries, I draw another line on top of the paint this time. You can see that Yellow Lemon and Cinder Rose are a bit opaque to be doing your line work first and painting on top of it later, and Quill is definitely too opaque for that. But all of these paints work very well if you just draw on top of them. They're smooth, they feel pleasant, and the line doesn't get significantly thicker on top of the paint. So these seem to be a very good choice if you're going to paint first and then draw. Okay, so this is everything I've got for you today. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching, and visit Hungry for Paint on Instagram on Wednesday for a preview and a chance to guess who our next maker is going to be. I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.